On May 4, 1886, in Chicago, Illinois, hundreds of radical Unionists had called a mass meeting in Haymarket Square to protest police brutality and strike action. A bomb was thrown into the crowd and killed 7 policemen and injuring 60 others. This is a story of how a peaceful labor rally turned deadly. The Haymarket riot started due to labor unrest. Workers who were unhappy with working conditions and Illinois' failure to comply with the 8-hour workday participated in period strikes, and also unions organized peaceful marches. On the very first day of the riots, 80,000 workers were marching. "35,000 workers were marching the next day. On the third day, peace was broken when Chicago police intervened with the protesters, killing 1 and injuring several others. A rally was organized the next day by labor radicals to denounce the acts of the police. 2,500 people showed up, and the members of the labor movement were there to speak. Toward the end of the rally, policemen arrived to disperse the crowd. A participant who was never identified threw a bomb at the police force. Police and members of the crowd opened fire, resulting in the killing of 7 police officers and at least 1 civilian, and injuring many others. Following the Haymarket riots, America experienced its very first Red Hunt. Backlash towards this anarchist movement prompted police to arrest anyone involved in the rally, disregarding proper processes of the arrest. A group known as the Haymarket 8, which consisted of George Engel, Samuel Fielden, Adolf Fischer, Louis Ling, Oscar Neebe, Michael Schwab, August Spies, and A.R. Parsons, began their trial on June 21, 1886, with Judge Joseph E. Gary. This trial is very controversial and is often referred to as a mockery of justice. For one, the jury was stacked in favor of the police, with one juror having a family member who also happened to be a police officer killed in the riot. There was also no hard evidence to link these 8 defendants to the bombing. Judge Gary was often hostile toward the defendants, even denying their requests for separate trials and delay of trial. The judge allowed the prosecution to refer to these men as cowards, assassins, and godless foreigners, and instead of presenting evidence that these men were linked to the bombing and murders, the trial was more focused on what these defendants represented. It quickly became clear that the defendants were being tried not for their crimes, but for their anarchist beliefs. Despite the lack of evidence in the case, all 8 defendants were convicted. 7 were sentenced to death, and 1 was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor. However, only 4 of the men actually ended up being hanged: George Engel, Adolf Fischer, A.R. Parsons, and August Spies. Louis Ling would commit suicide in prison, and Schwab, Fielden, and Neebe would all have their sentences reduced to life and then pardoned in 1893. The Illinois Labor History Society recognizes these men as martyrs for the labor cause, and a monument has been erected in Haymarket Square in their honor. This also serves as a reminder of the struggle of working men under a corrupt capitalist environment. The riot and its aftermath display the hypocrisy of a system that has sworn to protect and defend, and another system that promises liberty and justice for all.